Are you ready to make a first chapter that's going to slay? If so, come on and watch this video as I give you some tips and techniques on how to write a killer first chapter. So happy to finally mix my master's degree in creative writing and my bachelor's degree in psychology. Let's go. Hello, Shadi here. Thank you for coming to check out my channel. If you don't know me, I'm a Black novelist in Japan, and I'm here to help you write your heart's contents. You can pick your poison and watch along, or just use me as background noise. Either is okay. Just here to help and give some techniques. In the spirit of St. Patty's Month, I will be trying to wear green throughout most of the videos. We'll see if that actually happens, but this is kind of green. If not, you can come pinch me. I don't mind. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the video on how to write a killer first chapter. So just to start, what is your favorite first chapter that you've ever read in the history of everything you've ever read? I will put a few up on the screen of some classics that people like for a variety of different reasons. The biggest thing I want you to think about is why you like those specific first chapters, though. Feel free to comment it below. I will also be talking about my favorite today as well. So just off the top of my head, when I really sat down and tried to think which one is my favorite first chapter, I feel like there were a lot that I really liked, but as for favorite, I feel like that's a really strong word. So I couldn't think of a favorite, so to say, but I do have one that I am a fan of. If you know, I think his name is Mark Zuzak. Let me check the name. Yes, Mark Zuzak. He wrote The Book Thief, which was a book I read back in middle school that I've read 3 times over in the span of 1 or 2 weeks. No, yeah, it was in 1 week because I was really fascinated by the book for some reason. It was a school assignment book, and I'm getting on a tangent, but I've just always been a fan of his work, and the opening for his book, The Messenger, has stuck with me. So I thought I would mention that here as a good first opening that hooked me and kept me reading until the very end. Oh wait, okay. Before we continue, I am so sorry if I sound very nasally. I am sick right now, but this is a one-woman show, and I promised that I would do 2 videos a week. I do not want to break this promise when I've been doing so well so far. So I record in between my work schedule. I work almost every day, and I have a good couple hours before I have to go to work. So I'm sorry again if my voice isn't that good, but I got my spray. One day I will talk about all these cool Japanese things that we have. I have like these Vicks drops that I've been sucking on, this nasal spray I've been spraying to the back of my throat. Enough of this. I could go all day about my Japanese life and my remedies for how I'm trying to feel better, but I think my voice sounds fine, so just a little nasally like the nanny. I love her. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into everything. Mark Zuzak, The Messenger. The holdup. The gunman is useless. I know it. He knows it. The whole bank knows it. Even my best mate, Marvin, knows it, and he's more useless than the gunman. The worst part about the whole thing is that Marv's car is standing outside in a 15-minute parking zone. We're all face down on the floor, and the car's only got a few minutes left on it. Isn't this so good? Alright, I don't think that's how Mark Zuzak intended the tone to be, especially the last part. Isn't this so good? I feel like that should be more sarcastic. But right from the start, I really enjoyed reading this specific opening just because you're already dropped into the center of, there's a gunman at a bank holding everyone up, and he's like ready to, just immediately you get sucked in. You want to know what's happening. What is the main character going to do? Is he going to die? Or, well, maybe not die, but it could be a reincarnation story. I don't know. Just dropping you right in the action, or dropping me right in the action, because this is one of my favorites that I'm trying to show you. Being dropped in it and immediately catching that tone of the character and how, you know, he kind of sounds like just the main character who shit just happens to him, and he's just like, it's another day in hell for me. God, tired of this, but you know, just taking it day by day. And that is almost exactly how this character is, because he goes through a whole lot of stuff that he's just like, I'm just trying to live life and breathe air, and all this stuff keeps happening to me. I don't want to spoil it because I, again, am a fan of Mark Zuzak, and I do recommend this book, but I really hope that you can see how this kind of opening chapter really sucked me in, and I hope it sucked you in too, minus my tone and the voice I gave the character. It's a really good read that I 1000% recommend. Right from the jump, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my experience with writing the first chapter. It is a hate-love relationship. I like the fact that the first chapter is kind of the opening and introduction to the setting, the scene, what's going on with the characters involved, and the world that the reader is soon to enter. However, I feel like a lot of times I do put pressure on myself when it comes to making a good first chapter. I remember, and this is an example of what not to do. This is a mistake I made when I was in university and I wrote the first chapter for Blood and Water. It was if you haven't heard my backstory about Blood and Water, basically it is my first novel, but it is the thesis project that I submitted as well. Both Blood and Water and For You, I'm going to put the first chapters up, or the first openings of it up on the screen at some point, but both need to go through the editorial phase for my publishing company. So just because this is what I have right now, 95% I truly believe that it will change to some degree, whether it be one word, one scene, something will change. Just bear with me. But I'll tell you, when I was in university, I put up the first chapter, and it takes place in the engagement scene where the sister is getting ready and she comes down the stairs, and it's about basically how she was disrespectful to one of the staff members. That automatically tells you, oh, this sister is a beep. I wanted that to be the opening scene just so that people could get an idea of the kind of person that the sister was about. But of course, I got the comment, well, why is the chapter from the sister's point of view when the whole story follows the main character, Barry? And honestly, the only answer I have is that I just wanted people to see that she was a biatch. That's it. That's the only reason why. And that is not what you should do, because I knew it would follow the main character throughout the whole story. But because I was so set on having at least this one scene, this one instance of the sister being a jerk, my writer's gut just went out the door. I'm like, I'm just going to write what I want to write. And then it didn't work. It didn't work. And that was probably really good advice. I think I would have changed it eventually anyway, because it just doesn't make sense with how my story is. Just like I said before, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, I see things very visually. So the fact that I wanted it to start, like if it was a movie, with the sister's perspective, and then she meets the main character, and that's how we get introduced to her. It works visually, movie-wise. Novel-wise, not so much. But that's a story for another day. This time around with For You, I think I have a pretty strong opening. Let me go ahead and give you guys the deets. Okay, it should be somewhere up here on the screen. I'm not sure, but it should be up here now. This will be the first chapter, chapter 0, the prologue for Blood and Water. It goes, Barry-chan? Barry could scarcely hear the wine glass shatter over the cello's vibrato. In a flowing red gown with the deepest red roses to match, the youngest of the Takahashi family offered her brother a coy smile. Amber, most often referred to by her nickname, Barry, stood with her back straight. The lights dancing above them lit up her dark brown eyes. She gave him a gentle smile before looking at the broken glass between them. Kei Takahashi gawked at the young woman before him, mouth agape with no hesitation to hide its surprise. Loose curls dipped to the side as curiosity surged in her eyes. Barry had only talked with a handful of people since entering the grand hall, but her dear brother was the first to have such a visceral reaction to seeing her. She gestured to the water before kicking one of the larger pieces of glass in his direction. You should clean this up before someone cuts themselves. His eyes darted between the glass and her as a mischievous grin took over her face. Barry, he started, it's a beautiful event. She cut him with a compliment, one hand held out to the affairs before them. It's not easy to create such a rich room. Business partners from all over the country flew in to see the spectacle that was soon to occur. More young elites, well-versed in etiquette, mingled amongst each other in the intimate foyer, dining and talking amongst each other over dainty finger food and sparkling wine. She would be lying if she said she wasn't slightly amazed at the turnout of the celebration. What a wonderful little networking event this is. The entire event hall was decorated in the most beautiful shades of blues and golds that money could afford. Chandeliers glimmered in the dimly lit event hall as the socialites had fun sharing their latest travels and successes. The only odd ones out were the two siblings, as neither were all that delighted to see one another. "What are you doing here?" he asked. The orchestra began their diminuendo into a light taper, bringing their song to a stop before striking up the chords of Fukuyama's Kazoku ni naru yo. Barry placed a finger to her lips as she gently shushed him. The fun is about to begin. That was the first page, only the first page of Blood and Water from what I have now before it goes through the editing phase. For this, there's a lot of moving parts in this that you're really not going to understand. Oh, sorry. You're not going to understand until you actually read the novel. Like, for example, the colors mean something, the water means something, the first thing she ever says to her brother means something. It all becomes, again, gears in a cog? Cogs in a gear? Gears in a cog? Cogs in a gear. I don't know how to say that. Whatever. It all just goes to make something. Anyways, let me go ahead and go to For You. For You, Prelusion. Blood. And lots of it. All over my freaking new dress. I cussed as I ran my hand over the silk fabric, sending a glare at the man it had previously belonged to. It was one of the few very nice things I owned. This was the last time I wore a new dress to take care of business. Turning back to the man whose screams I had tuned out, I ran the blunt side of my knife up and down my dress, pointing out all of the blood with a frown. He could scream all he wanted. The fun part of being in sick little hotels like these was that every room was soundproof. I just bought this, you know. When you're a girl with few possessions in this godforsaken world, holding on to the little things actually means something. The man was too busy screaming his head off to hear my complaints. That's what happens when you think bondage is a fun option with a stranger you don't know. You end up tied to a chair with a knife wound in your leg. I sat in the chair across from him, tilting my head as I tossed the knife to the floor. Maybe if I showed him I wasn't much of a threat, he'd stop all his damn hollering. What a baby. Barely even stabbed him. I held my hands up in defense, as if I were the one who had been stabbed instead of him. Okay, I may have acted a little irrationally, but you weren't listening. And if anything, putting on my best pout, I huffed. I'm the victim here. Had I been any other normal girl he'd seen at the bar, moseyed up to, and tried to flirt with, I could have been in a terrible situation. Not many girls go for guys heavily involved in the drug ring. I could attest that no girl would be pleased to be drugged by one either. Not to mention his taste in alcohol was absolutely terrible, and for a man trying to woo me, a love hotel just wasn't going to cut it. Shall we make a list? I asked as I sat up, holding up one finger and pointing it at him angrily. You lied about who you were in your profession. I've been following this man for the last few days. I knew very well he wasn't the good-hearted entrepreneur he claimed to be at the bar. Finger number 2 flew up. Lord knows what you intended to do with the alcohol back there. I motioned to the drink currently fizzing with roofies behind me. And worst of all, I said, holding up my third finger, you f***ing ruined my new dress. And I'm just going to end it there because I read like 1.5 pages of the opening chapter. But you see, I in both technically drop you into the action and then I let you go from there with curiosity. You may in Blood and Water be curious about the relationship between Barry and Kay, considering that very clearly they were surprised to, or he was surprised to see her, and they don't like each other, obviously. With For You, she stabs someone in the leg, and she's mad that he got blood on her new dress. You're obviously, hopefully, if I'm doing my job right, you're curious about that. My intention with the first chapter is always to think of what is an interesting way that naturally gets the reader to want to turn to the next page and to the next chapter, and to think about, I'm sorry, I just had a coughing fit. I don't know if I kept that in the video, but, and my job is to think about what I can do to get the reader to get to the last page. Now, how to get the reader to the last page with a killer first chapter. Let's talk about it. My 5 wonderful tips on how to get the reader to turn to the next page in your novel. And I'm sorry, I know I'm dragging on. I'm going to try to rush, not really rush, but quickly and succinctly talk about these points. Focus on being interesting, but don't worry about the dramatics. I had to learn that the hard way in the previous story I told you. I was so hell-bent at that time with Blood and Water on getting out the sister's, like, dramatic... She was, like, tossing water on the floor at the girl that was helping her prepare for her engagement announcement. That was dramatic, and that obviously didn't work. I feel like what I just read with Blood and Water is so much more natural and makes more sense to give you an idea of the dynamic of the family. So natural, not dramatic. It's my best suggestion. I feel like in this way it can be more so like showing your intentions with the novel, and I think that's a great way to look at it. I'm sorry about the cough. Oh my god. I think that is the best thing you can do for your first chapter in your novel. You don't need anything to go boom, unless you really want it to go boom in the first chapter. Just show your intentions and show the reader that they can trust you to lead them and take them on a fun journey. 2, for my tips. Create motion. Create motion. Create motion. We are the boys in motion. I give you my devotion. Boys, we are the boys in motion. Okay, let me stop. You can do that by dropping the reader right into the action. Mark Zuzak did that perfectly in The Messenger in literally the first couple of words that he wrote on the page. You can have some kind of truth bomb being dropped like, oh my god, I'm pregnant, and then someone else reacts. Or maybe the person's by themselves and they find out, oh my god, I'm pregnant. That's the truth being revealed, or maybe a lie being told, or something that's new information that immediately just catches the reader like, huh? Surprise Pikachu? Huh? I think another interesting way that may be good to try is having a routine be interrupted. While the reader may not know that there is a routine, you would have to explicitly state it where, oh, this is as usual. I usually go to Starbucks and order coffee, but today I'm going to take the path less walked and go order tea from Tulis. In this method, you don't really have to give a setting or drop the reader really anywhere, so to say. But if you think about it, it's kind of like you can kind of give the reader an idea of the main character's mind, whether that be their first person point of view or third person point of view. It's your choice, but showing something different or a shakeup or anything like that where they're put into the scene in that specific way can be a good way to kick off your first chapter. And it might also be beneficial if you are a beginner writer to try this method. It's one of the easiest ways, and you can always go back and edit as you write and inform your novel more. For point number 3, it's my favorite one, curiosity. Be a tease. Go ahead, show some skin. I would pull my sleeve down if I could without it like pulling up my neck. What do I mean by this? Well, I did it in Blood and Water. I hinted at tension. People are wondering, what is the relationship between the brother and the sister? Why is it like this? He said that he's not expecting her to be around. Like, what is happening? What is the relationship? What is the dynamic? I breed the curiosity and I let the reader's mind go to work before I essentially give them the answers to all the questions they have. In the first chapter, you don't need to reveal everything. What you need to do is have questions and give the reader wiggle room to kind of move around and make their own ideas about what is happening and why it's happening. From there, it's free game. You're pretty much set to go from chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Give them all the information in little baby parts. I'm so sorry. Give them information in steps in different chapters, and I will put up on the screen over here what some of those questions may look like for what the reader may be asking, what may be good questions to try to lead with if you are trying to write your first chapter. But I also have to say, use your better judgment for this. Do not make it so that it's so confusing. The reader doesn't want confusion. They just want curiosity and a bit of questioning, you know. As I say, confusion will lose the reader, but curiosity will keep them coming for more most of the time. 4, and one of the nicest things you can do, I just realized there's a hanger here. Where did this come from? As I was saying, the best thing you can do is establish the promise of a story in that first chapter. Give them a taste of what they might be in for. Like I said before, a tease, but this one's just a little tiny tease. Show them the journey, the genre, the emotional tone of your story in the first chapter. Like I said with Mark Zuzak, I gave him kind of the like, I just wanted to go to the bank and go home. What is happening? I gave him that kind of tone, and you could hear it in my voice how I established it. Even for you, the main character for that has a very unique tone that I hope readers can pick up on easily as they read. And from the first word or sentence or whatever I wrote, they should be able to pick up on the tone pretty quickly that she's kind of a cutthroat, no nonsense kind of girl most of the time. If you are doing your job as you should be as a novelist, you'll have that tone established. Is it a dark, intense novel? Is it quiet and emotional? Is it something more romantic or dangerous or whatever you want to make your novel about? That's what they should kind of understand in the first chapter, even if there is a plot twist somewhere along the way. Switch ups are okay, and I personally love plot twists and switch ups, just make them with intention. Speaking of intention, my fifth point. Ooh, I think this is probably the most important tip. You need to give them a reason to continue. With Blood and Water, and for you, I didn't put the whole first chapter up on the screen, but you kind of get a taste of what I was going for, and you best believe, even if I didn't necessarily end on a cliffhanger, I ended with something that would maybe want to get the reader to continue reading, because they're in for a roller coaster ride. You don't need to have a cliffhanger, and I know that is a very easy way to go about this part of writing the first chapter. However, you can do things like have new information, a choice that the character has to make. Just please remember that a first chapter does not explain every little thing. It doesn't need to. It just invites the reader to come on in, sit down for the ride, and have fun. If you are really worried about your first chapter and how to go about it, I really hope that you can just keep in mind, how do you want the reader to feel as they're reading your novel? Start with that. And then you can also kind of think, what kind of emotional journey do you want to signal to the reader so that they know more of what they're getting invested into? And I know those two things sound very similar, but if you break it down and think about it, they are actually kind of different. Just think about how you feel when you read, and think about what you would like as you read. Who are they following as the main character? What feels unfinished, and why do you think the reader should keep reading? Keep that in mind as you write your first chapter, and I think you're off to a really great start. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. This is the end of the video. I, again, just want to say thank you so much. I do appreciate it. If you made it to the end of the video, I hope that you can check out my other playlist, my writing technique playlist up above. I don't have any statistics, I think, for this video, but you can check down below for my socials and anything, or no, my socials are at the end of the video, so please stay tuned for that. I worked really hard on the end credit scene. There are behind the scenes and everything on my socials, so please check out my life in Japan, and maybe I'll even talk about all this stuff. Ooh, that's the stuff that I have for when I'm sick. I think this would be helpful. I don't know if the stuff is in America, but thank you again so much for watching. I know this is the third time I said it, but I am a beginner YouTuber, and I know I don't have a lot of views right now, but I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to continue to show up every day as best I can. So even though this video quality may not be the best, as I am sick right now, and oh my god, I have to record another video after this, so I'll probably be sick for a couple more videos. Hopefully by the time I start my next batch of recording, I will feel better. But just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I guess that's it. So please don't get sick. Don't be like me. Don't get sick. I work around 100 people, so it's inevitable, but I feel like I'm taking care of myself pretty well. You stay happy, safe, healthy, and write to your heart's contents. Or wait, write your heart's contents. Okay, bye.